and we will win. Ashe.
Peace, peace. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another segment of KMunity. I am Chief Yuya, and on this fine day, I am filling in for our normal and usual host, Kim. So I just want to welcome all of you who are calling in and listening in on this experience, and please just suffer with me for a little while, on my filling. The call-in number for anyone who wants to call in and chop it up, the call-in number is 515-605-9862. Again, that's 515-605-9862. And if you want to speak, all you have to do is hit the number 1 on your phone, and then we'll know that you want to kick the willy bobo. But in any event, like I said, I'm covering for Kim today, and I will also be covering tomorrow as well for our early dawning ride. So let me just warn all of you now. I guess sometimes with me, people feel like it's a rough ride. So put your seatbelts on tomorrow dawning. But yeah, a whole lot of things. I caught a little glimpse of last night's show. It was pretty good. If anyone was able to catch it, the schedules have changed a bit. Well, I'm experimenting with different scheduling times, and Mondays and Wednesdays we do early segments. Early being 7 a.m. Eastern and 9 a.m. Eastern, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern, and then on Friday, no, did I get that right? Friday is the early. Okay, I messed something up in there. Wednesday is a late night. Wednesday is from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Excuse me. Thursday is 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And Friday is 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Yeah, that feels about right. Yeah, so, we're experimenting with different times because basically I wanted to try to see if I could accommodate different people. Everyone doesn't have their daytime like that. Many do, but for some it's good in the dawning. Some people are early risers, or taking the train or riding into work. It's a good way for them to begin their day. And then for others, it's a nighttime cool out, for us night birds, so basically just me experimenting with different times and things like that, and then seeing which ones work the best. Or maybe again we'll just keep it kind of staggered in the way that it is. But like I was saying, I had tuned in a bit to last night's show. I was running around, so I didn't get too much of it, but it seemed like a pretty lively conversation. But I tuned in right in the moment when a young lady called in, and she had shared some of her frustration about coming into the more indigenous science community and facing some of the same frustrations that she faced in the Christian church. And in terms of the doom and gloom that is often put on people in terms of trying to scare them into consciousness, or scare them into really trying to scare them into submission, and she had expressed just some of her general frustration with that type of attitude and behavior. But one of the things that she also said that kind of stood out to me was that, she said that that since she's been dealing with conscious information, that she hasn't really come across, I guess you could say, the meat and potatoes information as much, in terms of just the basics on having a family, and relating to people, just building. Like she said, I'm a single woman, and that's something I'm unhappy with, and the spirituality is cool and everything. So, as I'm listening, I'm saying, well, because she said she had been listening to the videos for a while. So I kind of said to myself, like, well, has she really, heard the shows and things? Because I speak on that a lot. So I thought it would be a good thing that if I just kind of shared some of that today, just kind of a reminder to everyone that there is a lot of information on this channel of enlightenment and transformation as it pertains to relationships, as it pertains to family, as it pertains to how we carry ourselves as men, and how women can carry themselves and purport themselves to gain greater things for themselves. So there's a lot of information on spirituality, but there is also a lot of information on sociology. There's a lot of information on family values and rights. There's a lot of information about a lot of different things, even on economics. Ultimately, of course, the root to all of those things is spirituality. So if you cover spirituality and the defining points of it and the sciences of it, you end up covering other things. You end up covering family. Like she said, I'm looking for a good man. You can't find a good man if you're not a good woman. And even if you do find a good man, you're going to scare him off anyway. So it's that self-development that has to occur first. And sometimes we skip over that because we feel like we're entitled to things that we've not really positioned ourselves for. Or sometimes we're granted and gifted a certain position that our character can't sustain us at because we haven't developed the character. And that's a horrible feeling. No one wants to have something and then feel like it's been stripped from them because they didn't really have the wherewithal or the sense to maintain it. So I would definitely encourage you all, those of you who have not heard those segments or know that they even exist, to kind of, tap into the archives and the old shows and things like that. And you can find them on YouTube. There's a lot of shows about family. And of course, in conjunction to, I think probably any book that has been written at this point has an element of family in it, or the understanding of family values and family sciences. So in terms of the Anu work, it's all over the place. It's definitely all over the place. So, when I heard her share that yesterday, I just felt like, yeah, maybe people don't know. They kind of need to be reminded that there is a lot of that type of information with Anu and with the Anu teachings. And, just real quick, and just some of the things that I heard, like some of the notions and some of the energy I heard coming from her and that I hear often on this segment and many other segments, as it pertains to just as it pertains to relationships and getting with one another and figuring each other out. There's some common mistakes that a lot of people kind of do, and a lot of people that go through some of the troubles that they go through, they do. And I'm gonna tell you, the main thing, between men and women in terms of relationship missteps is a lot of times people don't understand that there is a difference between men and women. It's just that simple. A lot of times we speak about communication is the key and this and that is true. Don't get me wrong. And it's important to communicate. It is important. Honesty is very important. Honorability is very important. But a genuine curiosity of one another is the most important. A genuine curiosity. Like you remember when you were a young person, and I obviously I can't speak for little girls. I was never a little girl, but I know definitely as a little boy, there was a lot of curiosity, around the feminine form. Obviously as a boy we deal with the outside and work our way inside. And typically females are the opposite. They work their way inside out. But there was a lot of curiosity surrounding, girls' world. What do they talk about? What do they do? So forth and so on. So, a lot of times as we grow older, we start to make these really bitter and broad assumptions about our compliments. And all women are just like this and men just want that. And through those assumptions, we begin to break down the value of the relationship. We assume why someone is doing something. We assume why someone is saying something without really taking the time to again, invoke that serious curiosity and a genuine curiosity to learn how one another thinks. And when you do that, you realize, wow, there's a big chasm in terms of the way I navigate my energy through the world and the way that this person navigates their energy through the world. Excuse me. And you only get that, again, like I said, when you have that natural curiosity. And a lot of times when I'm hearing on this segment, more so on this segment, because of course, on this segment, and I may be coming in and out. If I am, please, someone just let me know. But of course, on this segment is where we have more of the call-ins and things like that, and people are sharing their actual issues and their actual problems and things like that. So I'm hearing that theme consistently in terms of misunderstandings in our relationships. I'm gonna bring in a call. I guess you're gonna let me know if my voice is okay. Hey, peace, sis.
Peace, Chief.
Peace. Am I clear or am I dropping in and out? I'm okay.
It sounds like you have like a call coming in, then there's a gap, and then you come back.
Okay. Yeah, that's Blog Talk doing that. I don't know what that is. Yeah, thank you though. I was wondering. Yeah, I appreciate that.
No problem. Kadupe.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. So, excuse me. So yeah. Did you have a comment or anything, sis, or you just letting me know?
I'm just letting you know, Chief.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good looking. Yeah. So a lot of times the consistent misunderstandings that I hear on this segment again relate to just the energy and the vibration between not really being as curious or as concerned about how one another moves, and that creates an issue. I'm just hitting a setting here in Blog Talk. Just give me a second. Okay. That creates a big issue, and I'm hearing that consistently. Also, a lot of times people are way too motivated by their emotions, and when certain emotions are not in place, they're not motivated to do what they're supposed to do. So, like, sometimes a person will be affectionate with another person when they feel like it, or they'll communicate and discuss their issues with one another when they feel like it. So they're basically waiting until like it's convenient, in order to function together as a proper mating or as a proper coupling, which is of course problematic. In the same instance, you wouldn't wait to your biology tells you to do something with your mate to actually do it. So I'm noticing that as well. Sometimes I notice when like guidance is given, you can kind of hear it in the person, like in their response. Like when Kim is talking to someone is sharing some guidance with them, you can kind of hear like if they're not feeling it, they're not going to do it. And oftentimes that creates the biggest problems. The biggest problems. It's not up to when you feel up to it. You have to have a kind of a structure and even an imperative in terms of your matings and your couplings, and there's a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of things I can go over, but sometimes even just the language, and that's when you go to the differences between the two of us, between male and female. And I'm just sharing this again for those of you, because I see new calls are coming in. I'd say sideways responding to the sister who called last night and shared that she's not finding basic information on like getting a mate and things like that within these I guess she's been on YouTube or something like that, and listening to spiritual people and whatnot. And like I said, as I was listening to that, I just caught the tail end of it, so I don't want to pretend like I heard everything she said, but it definitely, for me, for one who puts out a lot of information like that, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Maybe I'm not making it clear that information is also present. Maybe people just think I talk about Orisha, but I think I have more shows on psychology and sociology at this point than I even do on specific Orisha, even though I may speak about those things and use those themes throughout, that information is very much present, so I wanted to just share some of that. It's the differences sometimes that people don't understand that I think cause the most problems. Something as simple as even how we speak to each other, right? A lot of times I was thinking about this yesterday, which is kind of interesting. Maybe it was a spark from that call, but I was thinking about times in my younger years when I would be out, maybe for the first time with a young lady, and we may go to a restaurant, and I was actually recalling a specific person, but when you go to a restaurant and she pulls out the menu and she's like, oh man, everything's so expensive, and then she might look at like there could be a special, like, oh, why don't we get a platter and we share it, it'd be cheaper. And when you're a young man, that's gold. Like she's in. She pretty much just worked her way in, because when you're a young man and you're counting your coins, when you go out to eat, you're definitely scanning the entire menu. You do it quick, she doesn't even notice it, but you go, it's always at the back and to the lower right, the most expensive stuff, and you're like, she better not order any in season fish or lobster or anything like that, And so when you sit down and you have someone like, yeah, we can share platter, even when you play it off like, no, it's cool, get what you want, but you remember it, you retain it, and one of the reasons is because a lot of times there's a certain stigma that comes with females who are considered to be high maintenance, and sometimes even men will warn one another, like you may see a female you like and they'll say, oh, watch out for her, man, she's high maintenance. So when you meet one who lets you know from the rip, no, I'm not about all of that. Let's just have a good time, or maybe that could be a part of her game. Who knows? But either way, it's an assurance that a man feels and experiences, like, okay, she's not trying to kill my pockets. But the thing is, sometimes that gets out of hand, and a lot of times the ideas and the concepts that we take on initially are very, they're innocuous, they're very innocent at first, but then they turn into something very wrong. So sometimes the desire for a person to be low maintenance turns into a distorted sense of independence. So now it's, I don't need you for anything. And just like your name has a certain vibratory value and a certain mystical and metaphysical value, so do your words. Every word has a value to it, and it engages and it charges certain things inside of a person. So just like your sounds do. Your sounds can charge and engage things inside one another. So for instance, when a man hears that you want something, it puts him in a completely different zone than when you tell that man, I need something. There's a totally different thing that activates inside of the psyche of that individual. You see? So when you say, I don't know, I want to go, let me turn down my background stuff. All right, there we go. So when you tell that man, hey, I want to go see my mother, sometimes the constant wants put him in a zone, because but a lot of times we don't want to say I need, because there's a stigma against seeming needy. This person is needy. So we'll purposely avoid certain words like I need to go see my mother, or I need to go on a vacation. I need a new car. We'll say I want it. And I mean, you don't have to get it if you don't want to. I'll get it for myself. But again, it's the genuine curiosity that we need to have towards one another, where you start to realize that when you say I need to a man, something activates inside of his chemistry immediately. Now, I said a man. All right. I'm not talking about all your exes and every guy, because they may not be men. But a man is activated by another individual's need. Not necessarily always his want, but certainly his need, certainly a need, so sometimes, and again, this is just me listening to the community show. And obviously I work with a lot of different people throughout the day and throughout the strong and throughout the month. So there are certain themes that I hear consistently. There are certain points that I have to correct people on pretty consistently. I hear certain things, say, no, that's off, that, you almost got it, but that one's wrong, and sometimes it's the subtle things like the language that creates a spell and creates a certain kind of delusion around, excuse me, what it is that we feel we're supposed to receive and why our situations aren't working. So again, kind of a response to what the sister had shared last night, because I definitely felt her frustration. I definitely felt like her whining frustration, because some of it was just, she was complaining too much, because one of the things she said was like, well, yeah, I know Chief has some books, but outside of that, what? Well, if outside of that, yeah, what? If you found the information here, why are you still looking? Because obviously you haven't digested that. So it's like sometimes that's an issue, and I've spoken to you guys about that, the overconsumption. So and I get that all the time. Yeah, I read your book. Now what? You didn't read that book. And first of all, like, most of my books are written with layers where even if you read it once, you still didn't get it. And like I always say, if you can't teach the book, you didn't read the book. The same thing with my class. If you can't teach that class now thoroughly, you didn't take the class. Okay, this is not like Western education where you just have to memorize it long enough for Friday's quiz. And then we good. Oh, whew. You throw the book back on the shelf or throw it in the garbage or sell it. And move on to next. Oh, Mr. Diggy, I got Mr. Diggy for biology. Now I'm going to that next. Now everything starts all over again. This is different. This is information that has become living truth inside of you. And when something becomes living truth inside of you, it becomes so fluid and so germane to your very essence that it changes you. And that vibratory change can be felt. People can feel it, and you can feel it. You'll even find another common issue that I hear with the work and on the show. You'll even find the way your inner voice is, it starts to change. I remember years ago speaking to someone. It was like high school, and there was this kid there who I don't want to say I befriended, but I got cool with him. He was Korean, and like I always had a soft spot in school for kind of the outcasts. Like the nerds. We'll say the nerds, and just the kids who seemed like they didn't have any friends. That always kind of like just hit me. So I would always kind of befriend them, or just, well, usually my way of befriending them was just to mess with them, kind of like I do now. I've always kind of been like that, but I would just mess with them or whatever. But, at least let them know they're being acknowledged, because it's just like with a person who's homeless. That's one of the saddest things. That's why I always talk to homeless people. One of the saddest things, I think, is to go, a person could be living on the streets and they could go for 10 days, maybe 14 days, and no one says anything to them. Not a word. So they start talking to themselves just to prove to themselves that they still exist. Or they do something crazy in the middle of the bus, they just urinate or something. So they can still, so people will acknowledge them, because you start to lose it. You start to wonder if you're a ghost. Am I even alive? No one acknowledged me. When I walk down the street, people just put their head to the side. So even as an adult, that's something that's still, I have a soft spot for that. And obviously isolation is my thing. I'm a pretty antisocial person. So, but I understand also forced isolation can be a very painful thing. So I remember this young man, and, just having certain conversations with him about different things and I remember, like, cause he was like still learning English. He was like right off the boat almost. And I remember we were in math class and he was like, when I came to this country, he was like, the only words I learned were curses for like a whole year. That's all I knew. Now, this is New York, so everybody's real vile and vicious. So he just started cursing like crazy in the classroom. He was like, F, F, S, S, mother F, F. But he didn't realize really what he was saying. He was like, yeah, that's the only words I really know. And I was like, nah, man, you can't be saying that, not in school, not in front of the teacher. So he was like, yeah, when I came here, because he said he learned English just by listening to people. That's why his English wasn't that tight, but he was in all AP classes with me, so I guess you didn't really need English to be really good at math, obviously, So I asked him, I said, so like when you think, what language do you think in? And he said, normally I would like Korean, but he said lately, sometimes when I dream now, I dream in English, so obviously, because back then when I was a kid, I was hyper militant, like hyper militant. I wore boots every day, not just because I'm from New York. I know we got the thing that we wear Timbs every day, which I did for a while, but I wore like stomp you out boots every day. I wore black. The only other color I wore was gray. But I was always ready for a mission. I was on some other stuff. So obviously when he said that, I was like, English? What? And but I found it very interesting how, again, sometimes your inner dialogue begins to change as a result of your environment, how it can begin to overpower your actual nature. And so sometimes I even notice that in this work that the inner voice of an individual changes because they lose the buffering of sanity that exists around them. And that's one of the biggest things that you can pay attention to in terms of your spiritual work and your development work and your growth work. Pay attention to the way you speak to yourself. I'm telling you, it's critical because the way you speak to yourself is like it's like, when you watch those spy movies or those assassin movies and like somebody will be fighting somebody and you think the person is losing, but what they do in the middle of the fight, they'll put like a tracker in the person's clothes or in the person's pockets. So then the person gets away, but they're like, don't worry about it. They didn't get away and they'll pull out their little phone or whatever and say, yeah, because I'm tracking them. Well, that's actually what your inner dialogue is. Your inner dialogue is a tracker, or like it's a better example. It's a heat guided missile. It's a heat guided missile. So you cannot escape it. You can do whatever you want to do on the external in terms of, 'cause I think that came up yesterday. Somebody was talking about like ankhs, wearing ankhs and stuff like that. You could put it on you all you want, but until your inner dialogue really changes and you really deal with the criticisms that you hoist upon yourself that may or may not be accurate, you're always going to be tracked and tailed by the spells that you create via your inner dialogue. You see, so just like that young man, he was young at the time, he's my age now, but that young man, his inner dialogue, was based upon his culture. And then when he started to develop more, the sickness, and of course, we're talking about New York, I've always said New York is the womb of America. America's, it's Babylon, the whore. She's the whore, she's the beast. But New York is the vagina. New York is the womb. So the greatest viciousness is birthed out of NYC. So that young man coming into that space with whatever values he came over with, begin to be outruled. So his voice is going to change, even in the way that he may judge or determine the value of his original principles or his original culture, because the inner dialogue sticks with you. That's the mission. Just like when we speak about the Ori and we speak about that in our Yoruba culture and we say, the Ori is the only one that leaves with you in the dawning and it comes back. But one of the things we always say is that the Ori that you leave with is never the Ori that you come back with. You see, that's the other half of that pataki. So it's saying basically you change every day. When you go out into your environment, when you go into your surroundings and into the atmosphere, it actually changes your consciousness on a daily basis, and you can't shake that consciousness off. So you don't leave it at the door just because you wiped your feet, or just because you come back into your home, and in your home, you have certain music playing, and I have like wooden wind chimes at my door, and I have incense here, and I have a Ganesh statue here that I rub when I walk in. Yeah, but that Ori that was affected by the environment and the happenings of the day is still what comes back home with you, nonetheless. Okay, so as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you know, your nature will never win against the environment. And it's so true. You know, so a lot of times, like I said, your inner voice is what helps to contour and cultivate what it is, you know, your nature becomes and your nature is, because as you think, you do. As you know, as you be, you think. You know, be, think, do. Right? So when that inner dialogue begins to change at that level, you start to stick things onto yourself. You know, and all the crystal rubbing and the candle lighting and and the tea drinking and the fire dancing is not going to get you away from that heat-seeking missile that you've now, you got a tracking beacon on you, which is your inner dialogue. So when your inner dialogue changes now you attract a different type of thing coming at you. You see, and that's one of the purposes of consecration. A lot of people ask me, why do we consecrate? What it begins to do, even though it's an external experience to a degree, it starts to begin to change your inner dialogue and how you perceive yourself and how you look at yourself and even how you look at the mythology of your life. So you begin to attract a different mythology to your life. Now you're still dealing with the same Ori. You know, you're not, it's the thing that's going to be with you when you die. You know, you're not going to scrape your Ori out of you and say, okay, I want to start over. If you picked a bad one before you came to the earth's crust, and you know, you have to do certain works to compensate for that or to try to strengthen it. Some people have Oris that are like iron. They're like steel, you know, and that could be a good or bad thing. You know, I knew someone some years back, she had an Ori like that. Her Ori was so strong. You could almost see it, like it was like steel, but she was extremely hard-headed to the point that like she ended up in a lot of problems in life just based off of hard-headedness. You know, would never really take good guidance, would get readings and pick out the part she wants, whatever. So there was a value in that she had such a strong Ori, but then, you know, there's balance to everything. And that's why I always tell you guys that where your gift is always where your attack will be every single time. You know, so you may have a strong head, but that means you strong-headed. You know, so there's different sides to that. But like I was saying, you know, your inner dialogue begins to change, and what you begin to attract to you begins to change. So it's not just about that external ideation of what you're putting out. Like even like the young lady saying, you know, I want a family, I want a man. Well, you don't get one like that. You know. The dialogue has to become I need, because then the masculine force that exists within the universe responds to a need, not to a want. You see, so if you started creating an inner dialogue, I need a man, which is very difficult because you're told constantly you don't need a man. You see, so now you have to battle that inner response, that devil that's inside of your head, the devil of thinking, of cognitive thought that says, oh, you don't need no man, you made it this far without one, you know, just get another you know, bunny rabbit, you know, you'll be good to go. So the thing is, when you begin to change that into a healthier spell, then on a cosmic and energetic level, you begin to attract those things, saying I need this, I need that, I need that. Now of course, if you want the feminine element of the universe to respond to you, you know, then you would use language that the feminine element responds to, you know, which is usually based more around a want, around a pleasure, you know, and that's like if you're trying to attract a female. So I know, again, the thought may be for some of the sisters listening, well, then I'll just appeal to Oshun. And that's because you want to keep that narrative of I don't need inside of your head. But you want a man, so you got to appeal to the masculine vibration. You know, that's the way that works. You know, and I know it's uncomfortable at times to have to deal with your spirituality on that level, but you know, it's only uncomfortable because of your programming and the fierceness and the veracity of that programming makes things like that very difficult to have to face or to have to deal with. You know, but like I said, you know, just speaking about those different variances in terms of, how we relate to each other, how we deal with each other. And let me give you guys, because I got some new people online. 515-605-9862 is the call-in line. Excuse me, 515-605-9862 is the call-in line. And, we're just chopping it up, Like I said, I'm filling in for Kim today, so don't worry about it. I'm not going to be on all the time. For those of you like, I don't talk to Chief. Oh, my God. He's going to tell me what's wrong with me. I don't want to hear that. Don't worry. She'll be back. But, even in terms of like your vision is very important too. And again, all of this is really addressing what the sister had shared in that regards, in terms of dealing with, man, all these conscious teachers out here, you're not giving me the basic information. You're getting the basic information, but you got some things you got to fight through first to even hear the information, like that inner voice. Even in how you see yourself is another critical thing. A lot of times people don't understand the value of the properly envisioning yourself shape. You see, because when you can properly envision yourself shape, it becomes like an auric field that surrounds you. It becomes like body armor when you can see yourself properly. Because, think about how attacks come a lot of time. Because witchcraft, even what we call witchcraft, because witchcraft is not a bad thing, but let's just say harmful energy that's sent to us. It's sent in so many different forms. It's not always somebody's killing a chicken or lighting a candle against you. Sometimes, the first law of metaphysics and alchemy is what? To make you something that you're not. So it's or to make something that it currently isn't or doesn't appear to be, right? And some things are more stubborn than others. Like we use lead because lead is very malleable. You can work with lead very easily when you're doing alchemy. But certain things that are not as malleable, are a little more difficult to work with. They're a little bit more, they're harder to bend, they're hard to shape because they're more self-defined, you see. So in the same instance, the way you see yourself becomes that type of armor as well when you're coming against an energetic pull, or you're coming against one or somebody's who would attempt to perform that level of alchemy on you. Many have learned that even in terms of dealing with the court systems, or we call them courts, but most of the time when you go into what you think is a court, is not actually a court anyway. And most of the time you're not even sitting in front of a judge, but see, that's a part of the alchemy, to make you something other than what you are. I'm going to make you a defendant, meaning you're defending something. You might not have even done anything, but now you're being defensive because you're taking that role. When they say, oh, defendant, stand up, and you stand up, or somebody even tells you to stand up. So now you're saying, I have authority here. And in God we trust. Well, what if I don't trust in God? Now what? So all of these different things are done. I'm just using that as one example, of course. But all of these different things are done in order to transmutate you from where you are to where something wants you to be, or someone wants you to be. Even in terms of your name, where you live. Well, don't you live at this address, right? No, I don't live there. I live on the planet. I live in my skin, So, I mean, and there's so many, words are a very tricky thing, of course. But what I'm saying is that when a person is self-aware of their self-shape, you don't get that stuff off on them. It doesn't really work. So even when you come into a spiritual environment, I think I had caught the beginning of the call, and I didn't catch all of it, but I know brother had called in and shared, or had asked a question about the Goisha, and it was saying that he knew someone who was trying to do some type of ritual. I don't remember what it was for, anything like that, but I guess it didn't work out for him. Something didn't happen, or there was a problem, basically. And the thing is, because when you're going into a spiritual event or a spiritual ritual, and you're not clearly fixated on your self shape, then the elements of that ritual or the beings within that ritual can then tell you you are something other than what you are, and your responsibility within that environment becomes something other than what you are, because you have no proper sense of self shape. You can't really see what you are. So you'll start believing that you're one of them. You'll start believing that the the prison or the bondage that a Goetic spirit or Goetic energy is subdued by, that you're subdued by the same exact thing. You know, that's a form of alchemy. No different than if you look at Donald Trump and say, "Oh man, we're in trouble now." What? So you wasn't in trouble before? You weren't in trouble before? You just now in trouble? Because that's your president. You see? So you've now taken on the ideation that I am under this person. This person has dominance and control over me, and this is my president. You see? So that's a form of alchemy that's only possible because of a lack of understanding of your own self-image. Who am I? Where do I stand? And that self-image is undoubtedly guided by your inner dialogue, you know, by your inner conversation. It helps you to form out the shape, because how are things formed? How is creation created? Through sound vibration. You see? Now, the sound vibration doesn't always have to exit out of your mouth, though there is a great value in it. The main value in what exits out of your mouth, just so you know, is not so much the air and the breath, it's actually your tongue. Your tongue does more work than you could ever imagine when you're speaking. You know, even when you're pronouncing certain words. You know, I always tell you guys the aperture, you know, the way your mouth is formed and shaped is what creates the actual shape that goes out into the galaxy, goes out into the atmosphere. You know, so it's the same thing. Your inner dialogue creates a certain inner vibration that now helps you to determine what the self shape is. And once you can determine what the self shape, alchemy becomes difficult on you. You're not as malleable because you're more aware. You have a force field, kind of an armor of proper self-imaging. And that's how you're creating your contract with the universe. I'm going to take a call. 447, you're on Community.
Lafayette Chief Yuya, it's Brother Byron speaking.
Hey, Agbo Ato Baba. Bawoni, how's everything?
How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good today.
Moving forward, Chief.
Yeah, I know. I got him.
Yeah. So I really wanted to publicly acknowledge the support that yourself and the Anu family have given to my Baba. For all intents and purposes, in most cases, he would have transitioned by now. Yeah. So I want to reflect back to the Anu community that what you're doing is what you are doing and consistently doing is working. And I wanted to say, Modu Pray on behalf of my whole clan for everything that you've been doing.
Yeah.
I wanted to just give that thanks to you all.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
Today is my Earth Day.
I don't have it on my calendar. Okay, happy Earth Day. Yeah, I got everybody else. I got your oldest, and I got your father. I know their Earth Days. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have yours.
Okay.
Yeah, happy Earth Day. I should, because I always talk to you around your Earth Day. Yeah, man. That's beautiful.
Yes, yeah.
Happy Earth Day for sure.
Having a nice day with my wife and children. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But this morning, so I rose this morning and I was listening to yesterday's community radio show, the one that you do at 9 p.m.
Yes.
So I was listening to the archive of that as I woke this morning, and I really enjoyed listening, and I was really taken by Brother Joel's comments and the things he was speaking, reflecting back on his life. And he was talking about how he had reoccurring situations, Chief.
Right.
Where he might see the same situation but different personalities, or experience the same type of message every 7 years or so. So I think he mentioned the first time was 7 or 8, then it was 14, and then I think he said from 27 to 32 was the next time. But I was wanting to try and understand, if you could help explain to me, is there any Well, what is that all about, Chief? And also, is there any importance to be played on the frequency of when the messages, those type of events reoccur? So it sounded like 7-year intervals initially, and then possibly went up to 14. Mm-hmm. So I wondered if the number 7 could have been a key element in his learning or his journey.
Yeah, 7 is always key. That's why you see it depicted in so many systems. Like, you really can't get away from it. And like I did the show on the 7 seals, and I've just kind of lightly tapped into it. 7 layers of skin, 7 notes, and the scale. 7 chakras. 7 colors in the rainbow. I mean, we could just go on and on and on and on that. So 7 is, like I shared in that show, 7 is actually the number for the trap. A lot of times we look at the number 7 as a divine number because we're always told that that's God's number. The number 7, and often 6 is related to Satan because 6 is the number for the serpent. Even though in the garden, the serpent was really the liberator. The serpent was really the one who said, listen, you're a robot here. He's just keeping you here for your pleasure, for his pleasure. So that's why in some systems, like in the Masonic system, the number 6 or the serpent is the number of liberation. But back to number 7. So that 7 is like, it's the number for the prison. It's the number for bondage. Because it is through your senses, and it is through your chakra system that you're locked down into your human reality. So when that 7 comes, and I'm well versed on that, and I'll tell you the reason why, because it's the 14 that's like, you'll find that certain families have certain numbers that are sacred that keep coming up. Like, so one part of my family, it's 14. That's how I know about the 7. And I mean, people lived, their address was 14, died on the 14th, died in a hospital room that was number 14. I mean, it goes on and on. Birthday was on the 14th, So that number is a liberating number. So it's like when you get to the top of the chakra, like, because if you look at it like, if I get to the top of my crown chakra, I'm at the 7th chakra, then what's after that? Freedom from that chakra prison. Or if I don't accept that crown, then because the crown is, even though we call the 7th chakra the crown chakra, it is and then it isn't. It's because the crown is what you cannot see. The crown exists on your head and above your head because it's that part of you that you're unaware of, because you can't see your hat on top. I mean, obviously if you're looking in a mirror, but you can't see the crown or the hat on top of your head. So if I don't choose to take that crown, then I fall back down. And then I start all over again, and I come up for another 7. And then until I finally decide, okay, now it's time for me to break free. So like, for instance, in my family, I've had a lot of people die on the 14th because that was like the explosion out. Like, okay, I'm done now. So that 7 going up, I'm out. So yeah, that would be some of the significance for him. Obviously, within his family, numerology plays a great deal because he's, there's 12 children, which is a number of completion. That's a very divine number, especially considering he comes from an apostolic background. And, you had 12 apostles, so 12 apostles, 12 children. He's the 9th of the 12th. 9th is the number for completion. So the 9th is always going to be the most powerful because that's where everything resets at, or brings the resetting. Yes. So, those, obviously the numbers with him and his family are critical. Yeah. But, as far as the 7, that's his time to be free. That's his time to break out of the prison. And it probably repeats for him because, he doesn't, so he ends up kind of, falling back down. Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. Whilst you were speaking, in fact, earlier this evening, yesterday I was given information that a situation that occurred 21 years ago would be reoccurring later on this year. And so as you were breaking down the 7, I thought, wow. And I mentioned that to my wife earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were speaking, Chief, I said, well, hang on a minute, that reoccurring. Yeah, that's 21 years.
Right.
And you know that 3 is very key for me as well.
Yeah, of course.
So
it
just made a lot of sense. But I can speak in a bit more detail on that when the next speak private with the Chief. But
sure.
Yeah, that just came to me as you were speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Because you divide that 7, you have 3 points of 7, which is a triangle. Which sometimes you see that also in esoteric information, and you know who that is. So, that 3 points of the 7, that's giving you options. That's giving you opportunities to break free, to get on a new road. You know, yeah, man.
Yes.
So that's why his number is 3 and 21. You know, when you're dealing with Eshu. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What I said to my wife was, I'm going to use. Basically, I said to my wife, what I'm going to be doing is using this opportunity to do something completely different. That I've got my heart set on.
Right.
So, I'm on the right path. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, that's the breakout. Yeah, you're more than welcome, my brother.
Yes.
More than welcome.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, brother.
All right. Cool. All right.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. I know a lot of people were asking about Brother Byron and, how he was doing and what is going on, more specifically with his Baba. So he had reached out to me, so I kind of was getting updates as well. But, I'm glad he shared it himself because, I'm not always quick to share. If something's going on with you, I won't necessarily, and that's for anyone listening, I won't necessarily share it unless you say, yeah, okay, let people know, whatever. So I was glad that he was able to come on. And I didn't say it to brother, I know he's still on, but a lot of people care about Brother Byron, man. I got a lot of messages about him. I didn't realize, because I don't have a personal Facebook account or anything like that. And I know a lot of you guys, you speak on Facebook and stuff, and I didn't realize how much interaction brother had with a lot of you all. And that's why I tell you, there's people watching. There's always somebody watching. So even some of the people who just been watching him. Because even some of the readings that I've done since Sunday, people said, yeah, that Brother Byron, I was really feeling for him. He's a good brother, and I lit my candle for him. These people never even spoke to him, but have just heard him calling in, so it's just always a critical thing, man. Always just be aware that people are watching and how you carry yourself, and how you move, is important because, like I said, a lot of times our missteps, they cause people to blaspheme against the culture. And it's a very wicked thing, to bring people away from the medicine, So to have a brother, of course, who carries himself with dignity and who carries himself as an African man, a proud African man, and people see that and they see the power of it, and he doesn't have to beat his chest. For people to know that, I thought it was just beautiful because, from the beginning of this thing, for me, it's always about community. And I'm always stressed that's what this show is, right? Community. That's what the show is about. Help each other. And that's always been my my rhetoric. We could even say, tap into the value and into the answers that each other can provide. And so to see that that's happening, I'm happy. And I know we haven't even scratched the surface. But one thing is a precursor to other things, So those connections and even, the brother being able to have somewhere to to break down. For those of you who caught the show, you know what I'm talking about. But having a safe space where he could break down, that keeps people from going crazy. Again, one of the reasons why I've always befriended the misfits and the outcasts. Because I've always known, yeah, man, forced isolation, you'll go crazy with that, man. People need to get their stuff off. I remember years ago, one time being in the church service. This was many years ago, and it was a guy. Oh man, I almost remember his name. It now escapes me. It'll come back to me. But he was a gay guy, but he was supposed to be a like a reformed gay guy, I guess. But still, I mean, I'm probably saying all of this wrong politically, but he still had a lot of effeminate mannerisms about him, and people didn't really talk to him that much, which I thought was kind of messed up, because I'm like, man, the guy's coming in here, he's got a passion for the penis, and he decides to give up that for the passion of Christ. Like, come on, give him some support, so one time he gets up, during testimony. You guys probably know what that is. In the beginning, everybody get up. I want to thank the Lord for this week, for everything that He's done for me, and all that jazz. So I'm sitting back there, right? I might have been playing. I don't remember. I might have been on the bass. But either way, I don't remember. So we were talking about a long time ago. But either way, this is what he gets up and does. So he gets up and he says, I want to, giving honor to the saints, God, and the head of my life and all that. And he says, and to Jesus, he was like, Jesus came to me last night. And Jesus came to me in a good, and he came right into my room. And I thank God for the Son, for Jesus. He said, because Jesus made love to me last night, and it felt so good. He said it just like that. It felt so good. And I mean, you could hear a pen drop, right? So I started laughing. Now I was like, whatever, man. Out loud. And, I mean, I'm trying to cover myself. I'm putting my face like in my suit jacket. I'm like, he said, it's so good. And he was like, oh, I loved it. He's going off. I mean, there's children and stuff in here. So afterwards, like, nobody would speak to him. So I felt I was kind of messed up. So I went up to him and I spoke to him. I said, yeah, brother, I heard your testimony, and I was like, yeah, thank you for sharing and everything like that. And then I explained to him, I said, a lot of people are really not ready to kind of hear something like that. You kind of make people uncomfortable. He's like, yeah, I kind of felt that, but I was just being honest. They tell you we got to keep it real. I'll just keep it real, and I was like, yeah, but sometimes, you gotta know when it's a time and a place for things, because a lot of people are not ready. They haven't had a testimony like you, with things they had to really overcome that are that heavy that they would understand what you're really saying. Now, obviously, I'm saying to myself, you ain't make love to no freaking, ghost, Jesus. You made love to a fantasy. Come on, man. You're not gonna, but you got to kind of ease people in sometimes, but one thing I did recognize, I was like, you guys don't say anything to this guy, make him feel ostracized because he said something crazy, and he's going to go back to whatever he was doing before that he was not happy doing, so having a space where people can open up and kind of proverbially let their locks down is very important. It's always been important for me when I was building this organization, and it's important today, to have a space, because without that, that's why people go up into schools and shoot them up and stuff like that, because they feel like they don't matter, so they have to do something to matter. Listening is not as hard as people might think it is, even though you may feel uncomfortable with what you're hearing. I have clients who are transsexuals. I have clients who are dissexual. They I got all kind of people who come to me. I get clients that did some really bad things in life. People who were child molesters are my clients. And, of course, many would say, oh, well, something's wrong with me. I must be a corrupt Babylao to have clients like that. But here's the thing. We have a choice. So people come in, they need help. And I say, no, your crime is so filthy that you can't get any of this medicine. Go somewhere else. So then when they run to our enemy, then what do we say? Well, look at them over there. Look at them over there. You see, but you had an opportunity to help that person. But, you know, a lot of times our psyche isn't strong enough to deal with certain things, especially when it comes to that homosexual thing. You know, the truth is, I was gonna do a show on this, but I decided not to. So I'll do a little smidget of just a concept I was gonna share one day, and I just said, nah, people ain't really ready for that. You know, a lot of times when we speak about plantation life, plantation mentality, a lot of times the conversation as it pertains to the sexual violations always go to black women being raped on the plantations. And, you know, I'm not denying that at all, and I'm not trying to discredit or take anything away from that. But one thing that we never ever talk about is the black men who were raped on the plantations and on the boats. That doesn't seem to come up in conversation. It's always the woman. Yeah, he would go out there and go grab her out the shack. But we forget that we're dealing with a culture that in many senses and introduced certain behaviors to the world. You know, so the ideation of raping a black woman, you know, let's talk about the black children that were raped. The children. I mean, you think there were no child molesters who were slave makers? You know, so there were little black boys who were raped, little black girls who were raped. Then let's look at it fully. You know, just like people like to see sporting events where people bash each other's brains out. You don't think that there were opportunities where they made men have sex with each other, or made a guy have sex with his sister? Oh, you and your sister, y'all so pretty. Y'all go out there and y'all lay on this porch here and y'all lay down with each other. I want to look at it. You know, all kind of perversions were acted out because there was no fear of judgment. You know, it was a great time for those people back then who were involved in that. You know, it was a great time. It was wide open. With anything you want to do, you could do. You know, so a lot of times within the genetic memory of black men are still those rapes. You know, and again, we don't talk about it. We talk about the genetic memory of the women and them being raped and things like that, and how hurt and offended we are by that. And but, you know, there's also the little boys and the little, you know, and the men who were also raped and touched and things like that. So now what happens, you know, as we grow older and we come in contact with someone who's living that lifestyle, but we've never had an opportunity to really address it. We've never really had an opportunity to say, yeah, this is something that happened and I have memories of this. You see, because it's kind of pushed to the side. You know, we're not supposed to talk about that thing. So now we don't have the psychological fortitude to deal with it. So when we find ourselves around people who are living that sex style, we bug out. You know, we want to beat them up, or we want to ignore them, or come around here with that beer. You know, we have these real irrational responses. Some of us. Not all of us. And I'm, you know, it's clear. Everyone knows that I don't agree with this sexuality. So let's be clear on that. You know, I don't agree with the act one iota, not one bit. I don't play that. Nothing, none. You know, I take the vagina in heaping doses. Give me the vagina. Okay. But I do understand that there are people engaged in those acts. The people are not the act. There are people in those acts. You know, so who exactly are we addressing? Who exactly are we looking at? You know, so a lot of times it's a very selfish thing for when a person comes to you and they say, I need some healing, I need some help, and you feel like it's almost narcissistic. You feel like, well, if I give you this instruction and you're living a way that I don't agree with, then you're going to use the tools that I give you to further perpetuate the wrong thing that you're doing. You know, and a lot of times we don't realize that that's already possible. That's already a reality, because we look at our spirit life or our Risha, whatever, as like good or bad. If you're good, you can use them. If you're bad, they won't work for you. It doesn't work like that, because you're talking about the lower level of things. That's the 7 that Brother Byron just called them about, actually. That's the lower realms are the 7 realms. Just like you have the 7 hells, you know, and then you have the 7 heavens. You know, but we're talking about the lower realms. At the lower realms, Hitler can use a microphone and bust a freestyle. And, you know, I can use a microphone and bust a freestyle. We both can use the microphone. You see? So the tools and the energies that are functioning and active in this realm are in different energies. It's not about who's right, about who's wrong. It's just about how you wield the tools, you know. And then when you go above that, the energy fields that exist work with a different type of matrix, a different type of code and law, you know. But the law in this realm is anybody can use whatever. When you talk about Ashe, you talk about the auric fields, you talk about vital force, you know, Yanga, which we call in the Yoruba Yanga, vital force. You know, you talk about those, anybody can use them. Anyone. You see? And that's why a lot of times we get so trapped. You know, that's the trap of the seven, where we feel like the power of morality exists within this realm. It doesn't. The power of cosmic reality exists above this realm when you break out of the crown chakra and you have full self-ownership. And this realm is practically a free-for-all. And some people are afraid to really admit that, because that means now you got to really pony up and compete. That's the truth of it. You really got to compete. You got to push things to the next level. So what if someone who disagrees with you, I heard that conversation yesterday. They said something about Elekes. I guess they weren't talking about, but they was talking about people who get all excited when they see celebrities wearing Elekes stuff. You can't. So what? You wearing something. And don't forget, celebrities don't even dress themselves. They don't know what the heck they got on. The stylists picked that out for them. And yeah, a lot of stylists do come from West Africa. You know, that's big over there. You go to Nigeria, Ghana, they all about style. Matter of fact, Chris Brown's stylist, one of his main stylists, is from Accra. And a sister from Accra also styled Beyonce for the Lemonade, that whole Lemonade tour and a little, I guess, movie, you know, mini movie she did. That was a stylist from Accra, from Ghana. You know, a sister who's got a shop out there. So these people don't dress themselves, man. I don't know what they put it on. You know, but aside from that, you can't just wear the spirituality. Like I tell you, you don't wear it like a shirt or a tie. It's got to be in you. It's got to be living. It's got to be indwelling. So a lot of times we're afraid to introduce certain things to people because we're afraid that they're going to use it against us or further use it against us, but advance it, take it to the next level. You know, when you constantly pushing it and taking it to the next level, you can give the old stuff. That's why you got 1,000,001 books about the Illuminati, because there is no Illuminati anymore. You're the Illuminati. You took over the old mantle of the previous Illuminati. You're the one sitting in your job right now. Some of you are sitting at work right now listening to a voodoo priest on the phone. Tell me that ain't Illuminati activity. Some of you are driving buses and trains and dressed like everybody else. I got some listeners who are cops. And underneath all of that, you got Elekes on. Underneath your cop shirt for protection. You're the Illuminati. You're the one that's holding the mysteries and holding the secrets, but moving through society disguised as everybody else. It's you. You see, by the time you get the name and understanding, it's gone. Somebody's doing something else, keeping you chasing nothing, chasing ghosts. Why can't you do the same thing? Why can't you compete at the same level? Oh, so-and-so is dealing with the Orisha. So what? So what? Anybody could deal with the Orisha. It's open like that. Now, I know people are going to get mad when they hear that. Say, no, you can't tell me if someone is a homosexual, the Orisha will not listen to him. Prove it. Prove that to me. Show me some proof on that one. Problem is, you stuck in the lower realms and you think this is where it's at. You think this is where it's really popping and this is where everything happens. This is nothing. This is boot camp. We didn't even get there yet. This whole reality is boot camp. We haven't gotten to the higher realms yet. The higher realms is when you're self-actualized. You don't self-actualize on the planet. People have asked me that before when I've taught self-actualization. Are you self-actualized? Nah, not yet. You know, you'll know when I am, because you'll be reading the obituary. I'll be out. I'm done. I mastered it. We all have our different flavor and our different tinge to master. You don't know what I have to master. I don't know what you have. Well, some of you I do, but you know, for the most part, I don't know what you have to master. But when you do, you're gone. There's no reason unless you just want to hang out, or unless you're just stuck and you want to keep going through the 7 cycles. You want to keep going through the scale. You want to just keep going through scales for the rest of your life. You see, some want to go through scales, some want to jam. Someone will pull out their instrument like, all right, I'm tired of playing these scales. I remember that's like years ago when I was playing the guitar. I was a little kid. I started playing when I was real young. And my mother thought she was doing the right thing, you know, but she caught it real quick. She took me to the YMCA. They had free, I think it was free. I mean, maybe it wasn't. I think it was free though. They had, cause my mother's Obatala, so she's real thrifty, and she's real creative. She knew how to get stuff for nothing. So I'm pretty sure it was free guitar lessons. And I went in there, this guy, he looked like, oh man, I can't remember his name. The guy who paints the trees. It'll come to me in a second. But anyway, so I go in there, right? And, you know, I pull out my guitar and he's like, you know, okay, so you're gonna take lessons. So he pulls out this sheet music, right? Which I wasn't really totally interested in, because I'm like, I want to play, you know, like at the time, Chuck Berry was my hero. Like that was my God. I had a big poster of Chuck Berry and I worship Chuck Berry, right? So he's like, all right, we're going to start Mary Had a Little Lamb. I was pissed. Mary Had a Little Lamb. Are you kidding me? But okay. Now I'm a kid though. You know, I'm only like 8 years old. So I'm playing whatever. He was like, oh, you got pretty good intonation. You grab that thing like you know what you're doing. So we playing dun, 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 and we're playing along with the sheet music. And I guess my mother came to Bob Ross. That's what I was thinking of. Bob Ross, the dude with the fro. Okay. He looked just like Bob Ross, except he had buck teeth. So my mother comes back, and you know, she picked me up early. I don't know why, maybe her weed man wasn't in or whatever, but she picks me up early and she hears me playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. She said, oh, wait a minute. She came to the door and she was like, my son plays the blues. And he was like, excuse me? He was like, he plays along with my Muddy Waters album. He plays the blues. So sure enough, he was like, okay, let me hear you riff in Blues G. I started riffing and playing blues runs. You know, I'm going off. And he was like, wow. So he's like, well, I think we need to stick with the rudiments though. We need to go back. So he was like, next week we'll learn Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. She never brought me back again. That was my first and only guitar lesson I've ever had in my life. That was the end. Because at that moment she knew he's broken out of the trap. Because remember, we're talking about scales. Scales have 7 notes, right? Unless you're dealing with a chromatic scale. But you know, like a Dorian or Aeolian scale, 7 notes until you reach your 8th octave. That's the trap. And she's saying this boy has already broken out of the trap. He broke himself out a long time ago. He's listening to albums and playing along with them perfectly. And you're trying to bring him back into the trap of hell, where now he's got to look at a piece of paper and play when he's closing his eyes and playing. Music is meant to be heard, not seen. You trying to trap this boy. You see? So that's the same thing in our work a lot of times. We don't understand. We fall so in love with the 7 layers of the trap. You see? And we don't understand that breaking out of the trap means that now, you know, you're not paying attention to the mechanics so much. You're going to hit those off notes. You're going to bend. You're going to do whatever you want. You're not tied down to that, and you become the new mythology as a result. So like when you read the mythology about all these different Orishas and stuff, you're not seeing rules instituted. And whatever the story is, you accept it. And they say, yeah, Ogun came into town and killed everybody because he was sleepy. All you'll say is, ooh, Ogun is vicious. You won't say, oh, that's wrong. He wasn't supposed to do that. Because you kind of know he's not in my trap. Sometimes you want to kill somebody because you're sleepy, but you can't because you're afraid to go to jail. You know, it's that cause and effect reality that we're not really usually a lot of times able to deal with. You see? So moving out of that 7-layer trap becomes critical. And like I said, one of the things I was speaking about earlier was changing that inner dialogue, you know? And like I said, a lot of times when the inner dialogue is still hurt and still affected by old psychosis that we haven't dealt with, we don't have the psychological strength to deal with certain things. You know, so like, again, a homosexual come up, or even a white person say, I want to learn Ifa. I want to learn this, I want to learn that. We go crazy. We don't really know how to respond because inside of us, we still feel that you raped me. I'm talking about as a man, you raped me, you know, and we haven't really processed that thought. We haven't processed that feeling. So sometimes even when we see melanoid females with Caucasoid males, we have that same feeling, man, you raped me and then you took my wife. You see, because we haven't processed and dealt with that feeling. So it creates a psychological weakness in those areas. You know, so me going up to, I just remembered his name too. Yeah. So me going up to that guy at that time, and he was considerably older than me, if I remember correctly. He probably had me by about 10 years, you know, and saying like, listen, man, I know you want to testify about how good Jesus laid that pipe down on you last night, but you know, these kids just came out of Sunday school, man. You might want to keep that to yourself, man. You know, write a erotica story, you know, my personal Jesus, something like that. But me sharing that with him, you know, was because I had the psychological strength, because I dealt with that idea very young. I dealt with that concept of, you know, knowing that, I don't know, it was just always very natural. Like, well, if they rape the girls, they rape the guys too. I just always just knew that, you know. And of course, it's anger. You know, your first response usually when you come into consciousness is hurt, and hurt is a precursor to anger. Can't help it. Any angry person is a hurt person. Don't believe anything different. An angry person is a hurt person. So, you know, you're dealing with that, and you're dealing with the hurt, and you're dealing with the anger. And sometimes there's a response, you know, where you have to go to the extreme. You may become like, you know, you take on a lot of this machismo, you know, where you become over masculinated because of the fact that that reality exists, that idea exists, that, you know, someone has violated you in that way. And then sometimes you're broken, which is, again, the function and the purpose of that act. When you look at that act in Grecian times, you had the idea of the mentor, Mentaurus. When you read the Odyssey, I've shared this before, and Mentaurus was Odysseus's friend, and that was the friend who looked after his son when he went on his journey. But the Mentaurus was always responsible in Grecian society. They would take the boys into the gymnasium. Gymnasium is the Greek word for naked, right? And you would go into the gymnasium and he would rape you. Right? And in raping you, he would teach you to have respect for the dominant culture, because you got to remember, you got to look at the mythology back then. You had stories like Kronos, you know, who's eating his children, you know, because he doesn't want them to succeed them, you know, to succeed him. So then you got like Zeus, who then goes with the Titans and overthrows his father, and this and that. So, you know, remember, if you want to understand the psychology of a people, always study their mythology. That will teach you everything you need to know. You don't have to assume. Like I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, you know, who's Caucasian, and I was talking about how, like, we talk about, because he's very open Caucasian. You know, he's one of the ones like we talk, you know, and I was, you know, sharing about the show we did that time, and I was like, listen, I don't know what white people do inside their house. You know, I don't know what they do. I'm not in the house with them, and even if I was in the house with them, they're not gonna act the same when I'm around. So a lot of what we say is assumption, because he was sharing, like, you know, I'm hearing about all of this privilege, and I don't really get to tap into all of that privilege like people might think. Obviously, there's some privilege, you know. Obviously, you're able to blend in and do certain things that maybe a melanin dominant person can't. Not even maybe, definitely a melanin dominant person can't. I mean, you could do that even if you're Puerto Rican or you're Colombian. You know, I mean, back in the days, people try to pass for Italian. You know, you live in the South Bronx. You know, you call your grandma abuela, and you over there on the side of the Coochie Fritos truck ordering food, but you Italian. Come on, man. Knock it off. You know? But yeah, so a lot of times, again, we have that genetic memory where we haven't dealt with certain things, and it needs to be brought to the forefront. It needs to be spoken about. You know, because that's where we'll gain that mental toughness in that area. And then once you gain that mental toughness, then you're more clear. Your inner dialogue will change. You know, you're saying things differently. Your shape is different in terms of your perception of your shape begins to differ and begins to change. And of course, once that happens, the reality you begin to create becomes different because you don't have that feeling of like inferiority. You see, you don't have that constant feeling of like, I was bullied by you. You know, you did this to me. I didn't deal with it or whatever. You know, a good book to read on that. Read, oh man, is it Hell on Ice? Hell on, look it on my shelf. It'll come to me. Eldridge Cleaver's book. I can't remember the name right now. But he speaks about that because, you know, he talks about how he used to rape women, you know, and kind of his mentality behind it. You know, what he was thinking in terms of doing that. Soul on Ice actually is the name of it. You know, but Eldridge Cleaver's book, Soul on Ice, you know, he builds on that. And I thought it was a very interesting perspective because a lot of times, even when I would look at relationships between Caucasoid females and melanoid men, sometimes you can even see like this is a part of like trying to redeem and reclaim a little bit of your manhood that was taken through that genetic memory of sodomy. You know, and I know people gonna say, man, you out there, man, you really reaching on this one. I know, but you know, this is a place for deep people. And if you're not deep and you can't see under the layers, then it's just gonna sound like a bunch of psychobabble to you. You know, but a lot of times, again, there's an inner dialogue. Remember, that's that heat seeking missile that I spoke about earlier. A lot of times there's an inner dialogue that causes us to create and become addicted to our poison. You know, we become addicted to the poisons that are breaking our lives down, and we don't realize that we're a mirror of that self-delusion. You know, we're a mirror of those different addictions that we have, because we're mirroring the inner dialogue. Our self-shape changes as a result. Well, let me give you guys a number again. I keep forgetting to do it. Like I tell you, I haven't done live shows in a while, so I forget to say the number. Plus, it's a new number, but it's 515-605-9862. 515-605-9862. Feel free to call in. You ain't gonna talk about what I'm talking about. You know, I'm just flowing. But you know, feel free to call in, hit the number 1, do whatever you feel to do. All right, we got a bunch of callers online, and I know we got a bunch of people listening from the net. And if you just want to listen, that's fine too. You know, we're just vibing out. And this is a lot of times how you you iron things out, because I make it a point to try to speak on the things that I know are consistently coming up in terms of like conversations and dialogues I have with people. So trying to be somewhat of a sounding board, you know, so they can hear it coming back, or even the idea again, like I said, of, yeah, you know, the men were raped. No one's saying it. So it's kind of pushed to the side. Like I said, a lot of times in this society, in American society, the feelings of men are really pushed to the side a lot, because a man who, in this society, in this particular society, a real man who's in touch with his feelings becomes very dangerous to the society. You know, if a man was really able to say what he's feeling and really act upon what he's feeling, and the disappointment and the disheartenment that he's experienced living the American way and aspiring towards the American dream, it'd be a dangerous thing. You have a lot of Colin Fergusons on your hand. You know, a lot of Colin Fergusons on your hand. You know, yeah, it'd be a rough way to go. But anyway, I'm gonna pick up some of these calls. I'm gonna just pick randomly. 864, you're on Community.
What's going on, big bro Chief?
Peace, brother.
Pedro.
Everything's peace. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. Yo, I didn't forget about how you was cracking on the South, yo. I know how you NY dudes like to chew us out, but yo, you know, you tried to destroy us. You destroyed us last week.
No, man, I love the South. The South is wonderful, man. You know what I mean? Y'all got y'all got something. Y'all got something all right. Well, you know, going down south is like walking back in time. I get to go reminisce.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? South is cool.
You're right, man. Hey, I just want to tell you, man, I be asking questions, but you always seem to go ahead and answer it as you carry on. So that's why I just always end up listening, man. I just want
cool.
to say, you know, right along with you, man, you know.
Yeah, that's cool too. I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. Show enough.
Yeah, man.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna bring in another call too. You know, you feel free to stay on the line, jump in whenever you feel like it. 797. You're on Community.
Chief, it's Brother Byron again.
Oh, okay. You call back on another line.
I'll call back here. No, it's the same number. Maybe it come up different.
Yeah, it came up different.
Okay. Chief, it's just that when you come on the community show, Chief, my pattern was not to press my number one because you're a chief and I'm a student and I want to listen to what you're saying. So I had to overcome that prism I put myself into to comment when you're on the line. So even on the community shows with the Sister Kim host, often when you come in, Chief, I tend to be silent or very quiet because Chief's speaking. So maybe other students have that prism that I'm in or used to be in, where when Chief's talking, we just want to stay silent and allow Chief to flow. So maybe I'm just saying that maybe our students might need to check ourselves and think, okay, Chief's inviting us to comment. Let's get out of our self-imposed prism.
No, you know what, brother? I'm glad you shared that because I have heard similar before. Not exactly phrased that way, but similar. And I'm going to say something about that. That puts me in check. I'm glad you shared that. Thank you for that. Because you're checking me on something. No, I know you weren't trying to bring it that way, but I'm going to show you how it does. It's like, because if I'm functioning as a certain thing within a community, I don't get the benefit of the luxury of jumping in and out of it when it's convenient for me. You see? And just like I hold the students accountable for them saying I'm a student, I have to hold myself accountable for saying I'm a chief or being given the chieftaincy, because I never said I was a chief, but being given that, I have to hold myself accountable. So what you just did was you reminded me, which is so important. That's why, again, it goes back to the language. The language that we use with each other reminds us constantly of the place that we hold in one another's lives. So I'm thanking you for that. I know you didn't mean it to check me like that, but that is a checking that I needed, because I have heard similar, and I've never, even though I've heard similar, I've listened like, okay, people used to say, yeah, when you're talking, I don't really like to come in too much, I like to let you talk. And I always say, oh, it's okay, it's okay. But yeah, that is something that has to be adjusted and dealt with, because you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, man, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, brother.
Cool. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Chief. No problem. Thank you.
No problem. All right, I'm going to bring in Sister Michelle. Sister Michelle, don't be shy now that we just heard that, because we're still going to work it out. All right, so.
Oh, peace, Chief.
Peace. Yeah.
Brother Byron's very right. As soon as I heard that you're going to be on the show, I was like, oh, well, time for me to listen and sit back and take what Chief has to give us. And there's also a sense of respect. You know, I feel like there's nothing that I have to say that's more important than what you have to share with us. So, you know, it's a sense of like, you know, not important, but there's more, you know, this is time for learning. Whereas with Sister Kim in the community, I feel like everybody's coming in, talking about their problems, so we all get a chance to talk to one another and bond, where I feel like the dynamic with you is a little different. Plus, your energy is so strong.
I'm scaring
so I
people
feel like
off.
that may be
Yeah.
not scary, but it's more like a respectful sit back, like, oh, I'm not going to interrupt Chief because, you know. And it could be because, you know, some people are checking themselves before they speak, and that's good.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
because
always good.
Sometimes you really have to think about what you're going to say beforehand. But I did want to share something about the consecration. And, I want to share with the family that you consecrated me and my husband. And before the consecration, I remember you warned me that, you know, things change after the fact for the better. But I honestly did not know to what level. Actually, I don't even think I still know to what level things are changing, but things are most definitely changing. And I hear it in myself. I see it in my husband. And it's that internal dialogue that you were speaking about. A lot of the fears that I used to have, those voices that were in me kind of disappeared. And in my husband as well. You know, so that everything that you've been speaking about, I mean, it's always spot on, but I just want to testimony to the family that it's absolutely true that, you know, getting consecrated and, you know, really getting in touch with, honestly, I wouldn't even say to the full extent what a consecration is, because I'm not that knowledgeable. I know that I'm more aligned with my own personal energy, but that in itself was revolutionary for our lives. I mean, we went from living in New York in the slums of Queens, Corona, to living in a beautiful nature-filled place, and it's gonna get better from there. And I want to take this opportunity too to thank you from the bottom of my Ori and my family's Ori for providing not only that service to the community, but to providing that to seeing what's needed, and I know that you recognize a lot of what our issues, and even though you don't speak on them because we're not ready for them, but you're definitely helping us walk that path where we can figure it out ourselves, and, you know, like self-actualization. Yeah, that's the word. And it's so important. And, you know, thank you very much, Chief.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I also want to share with the family that if they get a chance to get consecrated with you, to do it and to get ready, because it's not easy, but it's very worth it. Thank you, Chief.
Oh, you're more than welcome, sis. Ashe. You're more than welcome. Yeah, man. You know, everyone is spot on in that, and I thank you again, Sister Michelle and Brother Byron and Brother Pedro, everyone, for chiming in on that, because, you know, none of this is in isolation. And like I always tell you, I am on the same road. Never mistake that. I'm just further ahead on the road. Or let's say if it's like a couple of mountains, you know, like I've already gone over 2 or 3 mountains ahead of you. And you got to climb. You got to have a climb in front of you. But it's the same road. So I've been where you're at. And I'm still, none of us have actually made it yet. It's just I'm further ahead, and what I'm doing is I'm stopping and I'm saying, all right, let me set up a fire here, and leave some supplies and cut some wood for those who are coming behind, and let me maybe even set up a signal fire so you know which way to go. I can't wait here for you. I'm gonna keep moving, but I'm leaving a trail. So like with Brother Byron shared, that's what I'm saying. Like, thank you. Because I'm still on the road, and it's there's little things I do sometimes, or big things. Shoot, let me not try to discredit my mistakes. I want my mistakes. I want to own all of it, so I don't make them again. But there are some big mistakes sometimes I make as well, and that's just a part of being on the road. That's just a part of being on the road. You're gonna hit some pebbles, and you're gonna run into the gutter. And you're going to learn to pace yourself and things like that. And you're going to learn what you're made of, the further and further you go. And keep in mind that most of you, or some of you, when I speak to you, like she said, I know a lot of your issues. Yeah, I do. And I don't always speak on them because people are just not as ready. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody's built the same, basically. Like some people you could sit down and give them a list. I've always been that type of person. Just give me a list of everything that's wrong. I'll knock it out and come back. I've always looked at working on myself like a job almost. Like, give me a task list. Some people they don't work well like that. Some people you can't tell them anything that's wrong with them. Nothing. Those are people that will always be trapped in the 7 realms of hell. Always. But yeah, it's about really coming to that place. And I tell you, when you're there, all that I stuff leaves because you go through an experience. It's like depersonalization. You depersonalize the self, and it's a different type of unity. And the closer you get to that place, the more you start thinking that way. Because remember, the further away from your source, the more duality is active in your life. And the closer you get back to the source, the more you start to lose the sense of separateness and the sense of segregation. And you depersonalize your way, you depersonalize your walk. But what happens is your vision changes, not only towards yourself, but towards other people. So like she said, yeah, you see a lot of things that's wrong with you, but I see the right in you guys. You see, I see like where you're going. Like for instance, the sister's husband. I always said that, and I almost said it jokingly. I always be like, yeah, man, that dude's a Mayan. If any of you ever get an opportunity to meet Sister Michelle's husband, real coolest dude in the world. Just real strong, humble spirit. And you talk about change. I saw them after they moved, out of New York. And to give you an idea of how this works sometimes, all the time I was doing sessions with them, over the phone, I had even seen them because they came to some of my lectures. I thought they lived in Florida. And it just didn't, because that's all I saw. I was like, no, you don't live up here. You live. And then one day she told me, she's like, yeah, I live up here with you. And I'm like, what? No, that's not the vision. That's not what I see. No, you're not supposed to be here. That's why things are not going the way they need to go. No, you're supposed to be down there. Y'all are tropical people. You see? So a lot of times you see the person in their glorified state, and they may not see it. That's just how it is. So you see where they're going. You see where they're going to be, and some people call that prophecy or whatever. But sometimes your vision is so intermeshed with the glorified state that you even lose track of which one it is. You see, so it's funny because like when I saw even both of them, like they sound different, they look different. Her husband looks like his own younger brother now. He lost weight, he's just, looking strong, looking good, another baby, they're moving more towards their glory. And even him, he's got you'll see if you ever meet him, his voice, even he talks like this when he talks. He's got one of them real strong native voices. Brother Richie, when he talks, he's got a real strong presence, but just real cool dude. But even when he was consecrated, I saw it. I was like, and I don't know if I said it to him or someone else, But I said it out loud. I was like, yo, this dude looks like a Aztec warrior king. You know, I saw it on him. I saw the glory of his Egun on him. And I was like, nah, man, this dude, he's a chief. You can see it. You know, it's on him. And even then, he was heavier. So, you know, the Mayan chiefs, they eating better than everybody. Always a little bigger. They got them big, strong, you know, Samoan looking bodies. You know, he looked like that. And I was like, yo, this dude's a chief. So I saw him more in his glory form, his glorified form, you know. And that's part of what a leader is supposed to be able to do, to see you at your finish, not always at your struggles and your difficulties, and will speak to where you're at now so you can get to where you need to be. So when you're doing things that don't make sense, we'll say, nah, that's not you. I'm not even accepting that, because you're supposed to be here. And you got to have that trust that, yeah, they see something. They seen something that you don't see, but it's real. It's just as real as the things, as the mistakes and the things that you have about you that you don't like. It's just as real. All right, I'm going to take a call from 508. 508, you're on Community. Greetings, sister. How are you doing?
So far, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm cool. Yeah, everything's cool. You know what I mean? We knocking it out. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. I'm so excited. This is my first time speaking to you.
Yeah, you don't sound familiar.
No, not familiar.
Oh, okay.
I was brought onto this through my sister.
Okay. I know your sister?
So I'm excited. I don't think so. She just listens.
Oh,
she
okay.
never speaks.
Oh, she never speaks. Okay.
She's a little afraid to speak.
Oh, okay. So I understand that. You know, sometimes it takes people a while to build up their nerve. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what's on your mind?
She's shaking. Okay, so I want to share. It was a dream that I had a while ago. Mm-hmm. Now I'm Dominican. My father.
Oh, we can hear that. I could tell. Yeah, I know you Dominican.
What happened was,
you short too, aren't you? You short? How tall are you? For what? How tall are you?
I am 5'4".
Oh, you're tall. Okay, tall Dominican. All right. Okay.
5'4" is tall. Well, you know what? I think
for a Dominican girl,
I'm 5'2".
You ain't that tall.
Yes, I'm
5'6", you said?
5'2.5".
Oh, 5'2".
No, 5'2". Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And I sometimes boost.
Yeah, you wear them boots.
I'm like 5'4".
Yeah, right. So okay, so you already starting the phone call lying. So okay, so what was this dream about?
Oh my goodness! So my dream, I just wanted to just some insight. My father's Dominican, and my grandmother's St. Kitts. They went down to Dominican Republic, and my father, my grandmother passed on to him her gift from her mom. Mm-hmm. My dad was kind of like working with, we call them in Dominican Republic Laos. Mm-hmm. So I guess he worked with them the wrong way, and he was stripped from his gift when he around him an offer and then he took it back.
Wait, you just mumbled out. Wait, hold on, your phone broke up. I didn't hear the last sentence you just said.
Okay, I'll go back.
I heard you were stripped. He was stripped of the gifts. That's all I heard.
Okay, so he was stripped from the gift because he gave Baron of Cemetery. He gave him an offering.
Okay.
He took it back.
He took the offering back.
He was working and
okay.
Mm-hmm. And he was not working with what was given to him righteously. So they stripped him from everything. Now what's been happening, he has 11 children, and each one of us are experiencing things now that we've kind of grown up, and since I became a little more awakened,
right,
I have been having a lot of dreams, and I've had a lot of different, I will have to say, entities come visit me. But I had this dream about 4 months ago where I felt my body being taken. I different levels. Mm-hmm. First, I was taken to the air, and I could feel it because I brought myself back and I was taken. Then I went back to sleep, and then I was taken above the sky. And then I came back down. When I came down in my dream, I saw my sister, the one who introduced me to you, and my brother, who's now also awakened. They told me, go ahead and see how far you could go and how far they could take you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was taken, and I was in Mars. And I knew it was in Mars because I asked, where am I? And I was, this Mars. It was a red planet. And they said that if I'm able to deal with what was in this planet, I could go further.
Okay.
The second I was taken to was Jupiter. And I know Jupiter.
You said
because
Jupiter? Why your
Jupiter.
phone breaking up so much, man? Were you calling from the Dominican Republic?
No. No, I'm not.
Why your phone all messed up like that, man?
Ohio.
Stop
my
using them
sister's phone, so
bodega phone cards. Call from a regular, that's yeah, man. This is bodega phone card, man. Your phone all broken up like a walkie-talkie.
No bodega.
Is this a walkie-talkie or a phone call?
It's an Android phone.
Yeah.
I blame it on my sister's phone. It's an Android. I have an
This sound like
iPhone,
an
but I'm
Ericsson
using her
phone. Is it Ericsson?
Is it an Ericsson? What is this?
This phone is horrible.
It's
I can
that
hardly.
Samsung.
We all straining to understand you. You keep coming in and out and breaking all up.
No.
Yeah, man. So you said you went to
able
Mars.
hear me now?
Yeah, somewhat, but it's just it's all messed up. So you said you went to Mars, and
Is it
then
still messed up?
well, we working with it. We're trying to work with you now.
Oh no, because this is very serious. This is very
It is.
serious. I'm
It
gonna have
is.
to move from where I'm at.
You might have to.
Okay, let me see if I'm able.
You know what? Stand on
Okay,
your
how
tippy
about-
toes. Maybe it's because you're so short, the phone is not getting a good connection to the satellite. Stand on the chair.
I'm
Then
gonna
maybe
take my boots off.
you should maybe stand on the top step.
I'm gonna take my boots off.
Yeah, you need a special phone.
I'm gonna take your advice.
Yeah,
One that works.
yeah.
Okay.
You need. All right. So now you went to
better?
Mars. You went to Mars. Come on. You went to Mars, and then after that, you went to Pluto. You said or Jupiter? I didn't hear you.
Jupiter.
Jupiter. Okay, there we go. And then what happened in
I
Jupiter?
was taken to Jupiter.
Right.
When I was at Jupiter, there was this male figure dressed all in white,
Okay.
and he was sending codes in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was talking to him through my mind, and he was able to answer some questions because I asked, where am I? And he says, you're in Jupiter. And I said, okay, and then I was asking questions, and I said, how did I get here? And then he could just tell me. He said, even though you're here, you're not ready. And then he said, I know you're standing behind me. And then I said, he told me, I can't show you my face because if I show you my face in the realm that you're in, you might stay in a state of shock.
Mm-hmm.
And while he was sending these codes, what I saw was in one of the codes I was able to decipher, it was Russia, and then I saw like an explosion. And these symbols, but the symbols that he was sending down to the air, he said he was sending them down for those who are able to decipher and decode to prevent this explosion from happening between Russia and some other countries.
Mm-hmm.
But now my thing was the male figure that I saw when I started doing some research, the only figure that I'm able to relate with in the air, in space, it was Obatala. That was the only deity that related to what I saw in my dreams. And when I looked at the planets that was given to me, it was Mars and Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things. So it's not more of a question, it's more of a revelation that I saw that actually got me more into what I'm doing. Because after that, I have been having way more visions that are so deep that I could feel in my bones. When I wake up, I feel my body. I wake up once I'm back in my body. I wake up breathing, and I have to like do these breathing techniques so I'm able to relax.
Yeah, but what's the point of having these dreams, though? What is this all about? For what? Why? Why is this happening?
Exactly. I think it's happening because, as my father used to work in this, I think there are messages that are being sent to me, so I can actually start. I believe getting to know my direct roots into the culture that I came from. I guess it's not to run away, but to go into what I was supposed to be doing. Like my father, he's 78 years old, and ever since I started telling him my dreams and things that I've been feeling, he has become a little more open. Where he said that his family do come from a background of Voodoo.
Okay.
So I'm thinking the dreams and the deities. I have had dreams with, I don't know their names in English, but Santa Barbara.
That's
She's
Shango.
the ninth daughter of. Okay, she's the ninth daughter of Barana Cemetery. Cemetery. That I did discover that not too long ago. I had a dream where I was taken like way past in Egypt, and I was taken to this one snake. And then when I started doing my research into that, the snake, it came back to where that's some sort of deity that they looked up to in Egypt. And then when I did more research in my country, she will be considered Santa Barbara,
Right,
and
conqueror.
In the name you just gave me. So I know that when I asked my dad, he did say that in my family they worked with someone called Elegba, someone called Oshun, Ogun,
Okay.
and I can't remember the other one. But I know these are deities that we are able to actually manifest and communicate. It's just that since I'm new to all this, it's kind of like overwhelming because I don't have anyone to actually guide me and my family.
You got your
the ones
father.
who have been
What you
awakened
talking
on
about?
how to work.
Your father's guiding you.
We do. We do, but I don't know if he gets overwhelmed because he didn't think that we will be awakened at one point. So
Oh,
I guess
well.
I have to just
Then the
keep
old
working
man,
with
the
him.
old man better step it up. Then, oh well. That's what being a father is. You're gonna get overwhelmed, especially when you got daughters. Daughters are a headache. That's what it is, man.
Yes.
You know, he's gonna have to step it up. So, you know, tell him to start juicing, and at drinking good water and getting plenty of rest at night, because you need him for some things. That's his point. He's an elder now.
Yep.
And he's supposed to provide
Yes,
that
he
type
is.
of guidance and information, especially because y'all ain't got no men in your lives anyway because of the way y'all act. Y'all so wild. So it does all fall on your father's shoulders. He's got to step up.
Yes.
Yeah, you got a guide right there. He'll tell you what's happening. He's already giving you a lot of good information, and you're obviously not afraid to study a bit.
No.
You know what I mean? You just need to have more conversations with the entities when you're doing this kind of traveling, and stop looking at it like you having dreams, because these are not dreams. You're actually going there. Literally.
Okay,
You're
thanks.
going to those places.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Because I have shared this with my brother who has the same, where we might be in the same dream and we're like fighting. We're like warriors. And I don't know what it is that we're killing, but we're constantly killing these demons things, like these. We're constantly in war, and we're always like dressed like our ancestors will be like back in Africa. I'm always taken into, and I'm actually there fighting, that when I come back, my heart is beating so fast, and it's like we just, and then I'll get a confirmation where I'm hearing it. We just defeated that, and then when I come back into this realm, I'll say, okay, there's a spiritual war that I'm fighting. I just need to connect the pieces to know exactly what spiritual war I'm fighting when I'm here in this realm.
And what does your sister do?
My sister's just learning. She when they come to her and they push her against the wall, she runs. They literally come to her and she feels them. Okay, I'm a seer, like I vision. She sees them, like she feels them while she's up. They push her. One time I guess she's coming into this, and she was trying to run away from it for a while, but she has been pushed against the wall. She has been
90
shaken,
seconds.
and yeah, she's trying, but I mostly relate with my brother, who's actually able to communicate with these deities personally. When he does all that you say, he juices, he meditates, and he's able to manifest these deities so he could conversate with them. He has vision of the Indian part of our culture in Dominican Republic.
60 seconds.
Indians, a lot of voodoo priests are afraid to work with the Indians, but that's part of our generation from my mom's side. She's from the islands of St. Martin. That's where my mom originated from. So her side of our family
spirituality
also dealt.
St. Martin. That's where a lot of your hoodoo practices come from. Hoodoo out of St. Martin.
Okay.
A lot of serious work down there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. They did tell my brother that, because he spoke with someone as big as you, and they did tell him that most of our spirituality came from my mom's side. They are very spiritual. Whereas my grandmother, they were more warriors. They were fighters from St. Kitts. That's what they told him. They were more fighters.
10
so
seconds.
a lot of times our calmness comes from my mom's side, but the warrior side comes from my father's side.
Yeah.
That's what he has gotten.
Well, each of you have something different that you provide. How many of you? Is it just the three of you?
Right now, it's three of us who have fully become awakened. It's three of us right now.
You're not
But we
fully
all
awakened.
have,
What you talking about fully
again,
awakened? What are you talking about?
In my own little experience.
You ain't even out of the dream yet.
In my little
You just
experience.
slowly starting to. The dream is coming to an end slowly. You ain't even out of the doggone dream. You ain't even up yet. You know.
And that's where I'm at in my little world.
Okay, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But just each one of you have something different that you're gonna provide. In terms of the work, and just understand that if your father was stripped of something, there could be also lingering energies around the family, and which would give reason why you having all of those fights, or all of the battles and things like that with you and your brother, or even why you come from a family of fighters like that. This could be an old thing, Yeah. And your father may have been stripped, for wrong reasons. It may have been unjust. So there could be some energy still there, because I don't pick up that he did anything that bad. So yeah, that could be a reason for a lot of that fighting that's going around y'all. But each of you has something different that you provide to the scenario. Even if you just coming into it and you don't know that much or whatever, you all have different gifts. Trust me. And what you have to start doing is that when you're doing that travel, start trying to converse more. I know you said your brother has the gift now. Okay. You have the gift. You just keep waking up probably. But try to pause for a second. Like if you see the snake or whatever, and just try to, even if it's just staring at it, and try to pull information from those energies like that. Also ask your pops about Osayin.
Oh, wait a minute. Osayin. I'll ask him, because I'm going to see him this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. So just pick his brain when you see him. He's 78. He ain't got nothing else better to do.
Will do.
Yeah, he ain't doing nothing.
No, he's 70. Wait, yeah, he's 78. I don't think so.
Yeah, he's 78. Dominican man. He just sitting on park benches with plastic cups.
Yeah, he needs to share.
Yeah, that's his job, man. That's why he has all that wisdom. That's what your parents, when they get that age, it's like they're like libraries, and there's things that they have that they forget, they don't even know about, and that helps to keep them alive. That helps to keep dementia, Alzheimer's, all kind of things from setting in. You keep their mind active like that. Make them work. Have them show you some ceremonies. Say, hey, pops, how do you pour libations and things like that.
He does do that. He did teach me how to read the candles not too long ago when he lit one for his mom, and he showed me how calm she was. He kind of taught me how to look at the candles, and how to read the candles. And he does show me a couple of things every time we see each other, so I can learn.
Yeah. So you could be more of a problem than you already are. That's good though. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I'm glad. That's good.
Well, thank you for pointing out.
You're welcome.
It is. You pointed something out about the females in my family. We are very. We have this one saint that's called Anaisa. I don't know how to say that in English. Anaisa.
I know you're talking about.
Like you said, problematic and very sexual. So a lot of times, like my husband.
I didn't say nothing about sexual. So just
very.
Turn it down a notch.
No,
all right. I didn't say anything about sex. I just said wow.
Yes.
All right.
No, not you. Me. Maybe I'm talking out loud.
You turn it down.
In my head, from what I know.
Yeah.
From what I learned, not you, for me.
Yeah.
So that's one of the saints that we deal with that is like all over the place, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that energy. Yeah. But you know, that also means
that energy does get us.
Don't just look at it like, oh, that's the energy, that's why we act like this. Don't just look at it like that. Look at it, you know, every energy has a heaven and a hell. So there's also problems with that. You know what I mean? So anytime you're looking at any, especially a warrior energy is a person who's always trying to figure things out, but doesn't know how to rest their mind, doesn't know how to let their mind escape into a paradise. They're always trying to analyze things. So even when they go to bed at night, they're still sitting there trying to analyze. You see what I'm saying? So don't always look at it in the sense like, oh yeah, that's just a warrior. That's why I am the way I am. You know, sometimes we're given certain energies so that we can get the balancing aspect of it, you know, and look at who that energy mates with. That's the key too. Who is the husband of that energy? Because that will tell you the balance point. Or if it's a man, who's the wife of that energy, or male energy, I should say. That tells you how to balance and smooth things out. Yeah.
Got it.
All right, cool. Thanks for calling. And for your sister. Yeah, she was in the background. I heard her in the background. Yes. Yeah, acting scared and everything. But, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She listens to you in every call. She always does. Her name is Louisa.
Oh, Louisa.
508.
I think I know who she is.
Yes, 508.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know she is. She's supposed to be doing something. I think she said she's in a woman's group and she's supposed to lead one of the women's group.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know about that because I'm not in it.
Next one.
What you telling me for I ain't in the women's group? I don't know nothing about none of that.
No. That's what she's gonna do.
I'm not in it.
I'm just calling her out because she tells me not to.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Of course you're not. She knows. That's why she's able to participate in that one and not yours because she's scared of you and what you might say.
All I'm gonna say is the truth.
I tell her don't take what he says personally. Yeah, don't.
Yeah,
take
no,
it
take it personally.
Lisa.
Take it personally. Take everything I say personally.
Look at her, she's running.
you know I can't see her right now, but
yes.
You know, thanks though. But take everything I say personally. It is personal. If it wasn't, it is not just business. If this was business, I'd be homeless. Take it personal.
No.
Yeah. You know. All right. Thanks for calling, Stretch.
Yes, sir.
You know, so.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for your insight.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
It cleared up a lot of the questions that I had or doubts.
I wanted to talk to your brother. Hopefully, your brother call at some point. I like to hear his perspective too. You know what I mean? Because he got a family of practitioners.
I will make sure. That will happen.
That sounds a little forceful. I told you to dial it down earlier. Remember? You gonna make sure that you gonna make him call?
Yes, sir.
Just ask him to call.
No,
you don't have to make anything. Yeah.
We usually get together, and when we get together, it's kind of like what we do.
Okay.
We'll get together and we'll say, here, and then he usually doesn't fight us anymore.
Yeah, he's scared because y'all the warriors.
Kind of like a group thing.
I'm sure he doesn't fight you. Yeah, he tried. It didn't work. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, he did in the past. No.
Exactly. Yeah, you proud of that, huh? Yeah. Don't worry.
No, Will.
No, it's all right. Don't worry about it.
No.
Don't worry about it. We'll break you. But yeah, thanks for the call. Yes. All right, and tell Louisa I said peace.
You're welcome.
All right, cool. Take care.
I will. Thank you so much. Bye.
You're more than welcome. Peace. They still talking in the background. All right, so so we're over the time, as many of you know, and I want to thank everyone who called in and who shared and and for instruction that even I received, and and hopefully you all got something out of today's segment, in regards to everything that was brought up and mentioned. And I know when I'm on, I do change the vibe. So a lot of times, I may listen in while I'm working, because a lot of times if I'm in the shrine working, building something for a client or something like that, I'll have it playing in the background. But I don't always try to call in, because I know it affects the vibe of things, and sometimes people need to work through their own stuff. Just like the sister who just called, some of the things she was saying, she wasn't totally pronouncing the words right and stuff, like, like she said, Obatala. She didn't, but I didn't say, well, no. This is how you say it. Obatala. No, like, she'll let her work through it, because that's how she owns it. Nor did I even tell her that Jupiter is another form of the word Obatala, because Jupiter comes from Ptah, the architect, and from Ptah we get Obatala. But sometimes you don't have to give them all everything. Just let them kind of work through the little revelations that they get on their own. A lot of times it's more valuable. You have to let people go through their process. And as instructors, it's narcissistic to try to make every last student the same. If you give everybody, no, this is the way you do, this is what you do, then you got a bunch of robotic students. You want everybody to get down differently. You want everyone to tap into energies that are sacred to them and that are personal to them. As I said, take it all personal, and then that's how you create a powerful decentralized movement, because we don't know what energy to attack, because everybody's messing with something else. You got one over here talking about Egypt, the other one's over here talking about Phoenician and Sumerian gods, the other one's over here talking about Greece and Rome, and this one's talking about the Congo, this one's talking about South Africa, this one's talking about Catholic saints. Decentralize it, but the aim and the mission is the same. Depersonalized self-actualization. Move beyond the personality, which is your spirit. Your spirit is trapped into the 7 realms, because your spirit is always going to exist within a heaven or within a hell. So you want to move beyond the heaven or the hell. Like she said, I went even above the sky. So that means you went above Olorun. Olorun is the owner of the sky, representing transcendence. So you transcended beyond transcendence. But I didn't say all that to her, because she'll get it. She's on the right path. She's doing good. She's not afraid. And that's the most important thing. Don't be afraid. Keep tapping it. Yeah. Even the baby knows. All right.
I'm sorry.
Sure. No problem. All right, cool. So we're going to close out, unless anybody wants to share any parting words, but we'll be on tomorrow at 7 a.m. So for those of you who want the early dawning ride, get down, or just that dawning awakening, we're going to be tapping into some stuff tomorrow. And this Sunday, I'll be starting the new series, the new month, of course. And I'll be dealing with the idea of the contradictions. I'm going to make it light, though, this month, because I know when you talk about contradictions, I don't want people to feel too guilty. So I'm going to try to make it, as relatable as possible, so people don't feel beat down. Also, this Sunday is the men's call. Brother Charles has sent out notices, but we're probably going to send out another one to all the men who signed up for the ministry, want to be on the men's call, so you can get the information on that. So just kind of a heads up for those who want to prepare. And that's at 1 p.m. Eastern, that men's call, and the email that goes out gives information on how we conduct and move ourselves in the call, so we're not shouting all over each other and everything like that. All right, so I definitely look forward to. I love the fact that the brothers get together and they share, and I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that you guys have conversations when there's no show anything happening. That's what I need, because anything can happen. Anything can happen. Movements stop all the time. I could get on the road right now and my car flip over 5 times. So I may still be alive, may not be able to speak, You know, so the fact that you're keeping it going and you're seeing the value in one another, that's respect. You see the source in one another, and you're seeing each other as a solution, you know, and each other as the cause. You know, that's important, man. That's important. So keep it up. All right, everyone. I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.